Hello friends, welcome back to this new session of book reading Guru Leela series volume 5 Dimensions Beyond Horizons. Last couple of episodes we have been going through the chapter about Mohanji Home for Seniors written by our Mohanji Foundation CEO Madhu Sudan Rajgopalan. We will start today from this paragraph which is Bhumi Puja ceremony. If you remember, there was a hunt for the land, and land was finally identified and acquired. And the next logical step for that is the Bhumi Puja ceremony. That's what the further chapter, talks about. So Bhumi Puja ceremony. Once the land was acquired, the next big milestone was to inaugurate the project Mohanji Home for Seniors. And we started looking for auspicious dates in January of 2020. The chosen date was 29 January, the auspicious occasion of Basant Panchami. After some deliberations, the name Mohanji Home for Seniors was finalized. Mohanji was keen that the inauguration be done not by him but by seniors who could appreciate this project's virtues. So the chief guests were Dr. P.K. Nambudri and Sri Devi Nambudri, Mohanji's parents. Snehal Jyoti Amma, an elderly lady in the Tiruvannamalai, whose mother was instrumental in taking Ramanna Maharishi's teachings in Germany, and Mr. T.R. Gopal Krishnan from Chennai. T.R. Gopal Krishnan is also referred as TRG. TRG was a retired senior shipping executive and had a deep bond with Mohanji, like a father-son relationship. Mohanji was very keen on TRG coming for this function, but TRG resisted, citing his old age, that is 87 years, and various excuses. Eventually, it took strong personal convincing from Mohanji to make TRG participate in the function. The reason for this insistence became evident much later when TRG passed away in June 2021. This project and its progress literally kept him going till his last breath and provided great fulfillment and completion, easing his onward journey. In that sense, Mohanji was fulfilling his duty by giving TRG that experience and allowing him to benefit from the grace that comes from serving the elderly. Based on Mohanji's guidance, we got a foundation stone ready to honor all the above names and installed it in just in time for the function. Priests were organized. Invitation went out to our community and the preparation fell into place. The week of this function happened to be among the busiest period in Tiruvannamalai, so accommodation was a challenge. With some help from our friends, we managed to find accommodation in a new hotel. This led to another interesting coincidence. Muji Baba, a world-renowned spiritual master, happened to be staying in the same hotel. The day after we arrived, Mohanji and Muji ran into each other at the reception lobby. Their deep bond from before led to an immediate outpouring of love and affection from both sides and ended with Mohanji inviting Muji Baba to the Bhumi Puja function. Muji immediately agreed despite the short notice and his busy schedule. On the day of the function, everything went like clockwork. The pujas were conducted flawlessly. A large group of supporters came together to celebrate the occasion, and soon the chief guests unveiled the foundation stone to launch the project. Mohanji had arrived with Muji Baba, and both masters addressed the audience to explain the value of serving selflessly and spreading kindness. At Mohanji's request, Muji Baba planted two Audambar saplings at the site and gave his blessings for the project's success. Each audience member also put their intentions onto a brick each and handed over to the priest for consecration. Subsequently, bricks blessed by Ma Devaki at Yogi Ramasurat Kumar Ashram and Devi Amma, a great Siddha saint from Bangalore, were also added to this set. These blessed bricks currently adorn a wall of the reception area of the Mohanji home for seniors. The Bhumi Puja ceremony was a big milestone and served to highlight several aspects of how Mohanji operates. Soon after the land registration, he wanted speed and got us to organize this function quickly without wasting any time. We didn't fully understand why at that point, but it became clear when the COVID pandemic hit India in mid March and lockdowns brought the movement to a standstill. If we had missed that window, the project might have languished for much longer, denying several needy elders the opportunity to stay at the home. He also wanted to stay in the background and put the spotlight squarely on the chief guests inaugurating the function. In this way, he honored the elderly in a very sophisticated fashion and allowed them to experience the completion of long-standing latent desires. In fact, Sneha Jyoti Amma told Mohanji, many masters and spiritual people come to Tirunamalai and give talks, but with you, I see you don't talk too much. You only talk about what you actually do. That is why I like you. Mohanji inviting Muji Baba was a beautiful lesson in humility. Though this was his project, something he had visualized and driven, he was completely open to sharing and even ceding the stage to Muji Baba. This demonstrated that his commitment to the cause, the more masters that can bless a project, the better it was for the sadhus who would live there. And lastly, he handled the whole trip to Tirunamalai with a painful swollen foot and mostly limping. Again, he showed that for him, purpose comes first and nothing, not even severe bodily discomfort, can stop him from moving forward. I took those lessons as a big inspiration from Mohanji, and this set the stage for the next phase of the project, the construction. Moving on to the next paragraph, which talks about the construction phase of this Mohanji home for seniors. During the Bhumi Puja trip, Mohanji gave clear instructions on how he wanted the structure to be, what facilities to include, how to honor the Siddhas, the elevated masters, and how to enable continuous worship of Mount Arunachala. Our team, led by Mamuji, that is Mr. Narendra Rohmitra, a retired chief engineer from Jammu, long-time senior member and a pillar of Mohanji family. So the team led by Mamuji started the work. Within a few weeks, the blueprint for the building was ready. A funding proposal document was also prepared in parallel. During the Mohanji Global Summit in Sri Lanka in February 2020, a short presentation on this project immediately led to an outpouring of financial support from various participants. Sometime in March, we began the process of looking for local vendors and contractors and raising more funds to allow us to start the project. The COVID pandemic hit India very soon and the entire country went into a hard lockdown. For months, no movement was possible. However, Master's grace cannot be held back by mere physical lockdowns, nor can fund circulation. Our fundraising pitch brought forward members from the Mohanji family with generous donations, and by July 2020, we had garnered enough funds for the phase 1 of the project. By late August 2020, the lockdown began easing, and our priority was to drill a bore well to secure water for the plot. Tirunamalai is a very dry, with summers being exceedingly hot. Hence, having a reliable water source within our plot was of prime importance. Kishore, who had taken over as the project manager, did the homework to select the right contractors. The water diviners selected two spots for the bore well. As per their assessment, the ideal location was very close to one of the Audumber saplings planted by Muji and Mohanji. Further, our Vastu expert also did not approve of that location for the water source. Hence, we decided to avoid that spot. The water diviner then suggested another area closer to the front side of the plot, saying this spot was also good but not his ideal location for water. With this fixed, the drilling work started on 20th September 2020. A few hours later, Kishore called me, sounding a bit worried. They had reached a depth of 300 feet with no sign of water. We had been told that a nearby plot had struck water at sub 100 feet. However, we did not give up and continued drilling. Eventually, they struck water at 440 depth and went down to 560 feet depth, assuring a steady supply of water to the site. A few minutes before that, Anant, who was in Mohanji's home in Bangalore, had relayed this information to Mohanji, who had just walked in front of the altar, stood for a few seconds and moved on. Within 10 minutes from that, water was stuck. Mohanji just smiled and said, "It is all grace." Soon after, a motor was installed and we had a functional water source for the center. In this manner, a beautiful solution emerged that respected the sacred plant and Vastu principles, yet the center's water needs would be met even from a sub-optimal water source. The next priority was to obtain the necessary approvals for construction. This process can be tricky as various departments are involved and getting accurate information is often the biggest challenge. Initially, we were told the process could take 3 to 6 months and would involve multiple rounds of visits to various government departments. While exploring this issue with other contacts, we were led to a person via Ramanna, the caretaker of the old age shelter, who promised to get the whole process done within 30 to 45 days for a small fraction of the estimated expenses. A few days later, we learned that government had officially announced that all plan permits up to 10,000 square feet could be approved by local bodies, example, the Gram Panchayat. What seemed like a 3 to 6 months process and a potentially large expense was reduced to a short time frame and a marginal expense with local village panchayat. As it turned out, our plan approval came within 30 days. Our temporary electric connection was set up. So before Diwali in November 2020, the lights came on our site and we were ready for construction. Meanwhile, Mamuji and Kishore had worked hard to shortlist contractors and find the best team for the job. Excuse me. This was challenging since COVID lockdown had severely affected labor availability and cost. Nonetheless, Mamuji, true to his cost-saving instincts, drove a hard bargain that got us best possible solution with the chosen contractor. Through Shaju, a fellow Mohanji family member at FICCI, India's largest industry association, we also negotiated with a cement major to give us preferential rate, almost 20% discount for our cement supplies. Given the non-profit nature of the organization, Amuk Care, and the project objectives. We also obtained competitive rates for iron rods and thus saved a substantial sum in the two biggest cost items. Our construction work officially began in mid-December 2020, much later than we would have liked, but quite quickly considering the effect of COVID lockdowns across Tamil Nadu and the country. Once construction started, work continued steadily except for the second lockdown in early 2021 with hardly any stoppage for funds or any other reason. Our original plan was to complete phase 1, just the ground floor, and leave the rest for later. However, during construction, the plans changed to complete the first floor as well. We amazingly received donations to support this progress as well. Kishore took a strategic and brave decision to relocate with family to Trinumalai for the project's duration, which helped us keep a firm grip and fast pace on the project. As a result, the project reached a near completion stage of the ground and first floor by late July 2021. During this entire construction phase, as observers of how things actually moved, we can only marvel at how the whole process was smoothed by grace, be it timely availability of funds, material resources, and cost savings of the right order, the right people, or the proper approvals. Every aspect started off with some obstacle that dissolved within a few days. If there was only one or two of them, one could have been attributed it to sheer luck. The number of such instances leads us to only conclusion that is explainable. This project is sacred, and divine forces beyond our comprehension are powering it. Otherwise, to see the construction of such a scale complete within 7 months during COVID pandemic is nothing but impossible. Uh, this there'll be an the chapter is a long one, so I think we will stop today's session over here. Next week we will start with the commencement ceremony and thereafter miracles galore. So we'll stop the session here, and next week we will try complete this chapter. I think we should be able to complete this chapter the next week. Thank you so much for joining today's session. Have a good week and a good weekend. Thank you. Jai Mohan ji.